back to a new Hints and Theories video, this time about episode number 9, the final of season 25 of WIDM Mol. If you're new here on this channel, hi, my name is Julia and I talk about hints and theories that will hopefully help you figure out who the mole is. In this video we will first have it about suspicious things that happened in this episode, and then we will also have a quick recap of suspicious things that happened throughout the episode. We will have a look at each finalist, and in the end I hope that this will help you to pick your mole. In the beginning, let's quickly have it about a pot. 8,055 euro. And with that, it is the lowest pot ever. And talking about the pot, we got to see a scene in which the finalists have it about this, well, very low amount of money in the pot. And Rose says that, well, it is still money, and of course she's right with that. But the interesting thing about this scene was Maaike's reaction to that. Because have a look at her. This, I would call it almost a side eye, well, does seem suspicious. Don't you think so? And with that we jump to task number 1 in this episode. In this task something interesting happened because Rose actually was the one to earn the most money. If we think about last week when she almost didn't do anything, this is really something new. So she earned the most money. In comparison to that, Stein earned the least out of the three, so of course it makes him a lot more suspicious than Rose. As you know, in this task the floor was lava, so the candidates weren't allowed to touch the ground. In the episode we got to know that they still did touch the ground 9 times, and we also got to see them, well, in the interview scenes talking about that they really couldn't explain how that could have happened so many times. In the Mol talk they had an overview of how much the candidates earned in this task, but also how many times each of them touched the ground, and there it shows that it was equal. So all of them touched the ground 3 times, which in the end of course does not make anyone more suspicious for us. That actually were the most interesting things about task number 1. Of course we could also add that Stein got the green basket, and as you know, green always, well, is the color of the mole, so some people also say that this is a hint to him, but I would say we quickly skip to task number 2. To be honest, I have to say that I don't think that we can pick too much out of this task, especially not out of the videos. I mean, it is interesting to see how in the end the candidates picked the mole, but then again we still don't really, well, got an overview of that. We only got to see 5 videos out of 10, so we don't know what the finalists filled in, what Richard filled in and what Gabriel filled in. We also didn't get to see Ray's answer to the question who is the mole, so we simply know that he did not fill it out on Stein, which I think is a hint to the fact that Stein isn't the mole, because they showed us all of the other answers when people filled that question in with a name that is now not a finalist. And in Ray's case we did not get to see that, and we only heard Stein saying that it wasn't him. So it gives me a feeling that Ray either filled it out on Rose or on Maaike. But yeah, just my feeling. And when it comes to the assignment itself, the paper boats, I also did not see anything too suspicious there. I have a theory about how the mole would probably play that. I can imagine that the production wanted the mole to be a bit in the background here and let the candidates actually have a chance to see the videos, which would make Maaike more suspicious because she, well, really was slow in fishing the boats and did not get to see as many videos as the other 2. I know you could also say like the mole wants to be super eager and wants to get as many videos as possible, and I do agree on that, but if it wasn't the last episode, like, I mean, in the end, of course, the mole needs to stay underground and does not want to be caught, but it is the final, and actually the idea kinda is that at least one of the finalists piss out the last test on the right person on the mall. So I think it is the final. So I can imagine that the production's idea actually was to give the candidates more chances to see videos here and to, well, let them all be in the background a bit more. Just my idea. In the end, Maaike, Stein and Rose did the final test and we got to know well, who their mole is. So Maaike filled out a test on Rose. Rose chose Stein as mole and Stein chose Rose, which in the end would mean that if Maaike is the mole, well, the other two did not recognize that. So the big question remains, who is the mole? And to give you a quick help on figuring out who your mole is, we will have a look in our mole book and do a recap of suspicious things that happened throughout the episode, looking at one finalist after the other, and we will start with Rose. In task number 1 we had the birthday party for the mole, and Rose was there and had to eat a spider, if I remember it correctly, and she also had the plates with the insects on them and, well, brought them to the boat. And there she, well, teased Stein a bit with like, should I eat another one of those insects? And with that she could have influenced the game and made sure that they wouldn't get money for the insects. And also on the way there she placed one of those plates on her legs, which I think wasn't allowed. Then in episode number 2, Rose was the one to hide one of those napkins, making sure that they wouldn't open the last, well, box they had there. And she also hid a key, which got caught by Sophie, but still she tried to influence the game there and mole a bit. In episode number 4 she does not only know how to influence the lie detector game very well, but she also isn't really good at catching those water bombs filled with the syrup they needed for the ice cream for the children. Then in episode number 5 she had a good idea with counting those faces on the towers, saying that this is the only way to figure out the correct amount of faces in that short time they had, but then she also says that there were only 2 faces on each tower, which was incorrect. There were 4 faces, so she came up with the right idea but had the wrong amount of faces, and that would in the end mean a wrong number, which, well, got caught by the boys and they corrected her, but still she tried. Later in that episode they had to make those Buddha faces, and there, well, she in the end gained the highest amount of points, but made sure that the candidates wouldn't, well, choose her as one of the most successful ones. So she really was like, no, don't pick me, don't pick me, and they listened to her, and by doing that lost a lot of money. In episode 6, when they were searching for the right photographer, she was in a team with Sophie and she actually manipulated the mobile they had, so she put it on play mode, and by doing that, of course, they couldn't get any messages in the group chat. And she also did, well, walk around very slowly, pointed at the animals there, and all in all just tried to, well, slow down the game a bit. In episode number 7 she was busy searching for that special suitcase at the airport, which then led to the fact that she didn't really do anything else to earn any money. If she's the mole, of course, she wanted to protect herself. If she's the candidate, then she wanted to figure out what the interesting information on the tablet was to help her find her mole, but still she was basically only busy with that. And later in that episode they could earn a vrijstelling for the finals, so an exemption, and there she really wanted to pay 7,000 euro out of the pot for that exemption, and yes, that even shocked Rick. And last week in episode 8 she, well, had a fun time in the bathtub in that scary hotel, not doing really anything to earn money in that task. And that also happened later in the task with the soul, where she also wasn't very helpful for the group. Then, last but not least, there's also an, well, overall hint to Rose, because throughout the season we got to see a lot of flowers, and as you know, the flower hint could be that it leads to a person with a flower name, and Rose, of course, is a flower. By the way, in episode number 1, all 3 finalists were part of the group of people who showed that they could lie very well. As you remember, in the first task of the first episode, they kinda, wanted to show how good people are at lying before choosing them all, and Rose, Stein and Maaike all were part of the people who lied about that they didn't get the offer to earn a yoker. And with that, we have a look at all the suspicious things Stein did. In episode number 1, the birthday party for the mole, Stein was busy with jackfruits and couldn't really figure out how to cut them open properly and get that, fruit to the party, so they spent a lot of time there. In the end, said they wouldn't go further with it, went to the next task but had lost so much time there that they also couldn't do the second one, so in the end no money added to the pot here, thanks to Stein. Then people recognized in episode number 2 that some of the words in those mole briefings also appear in the interviews here in the mole book, and Stein was one of those people. The words were absolute, for example, and also check, and that came back in the episode. So it seemed like the way the mole talks and the mole briefings could fit to Stein. In episode number 4, Stein was part of the group who had to go into that, scary house and wasn't allowed to scream there. In the end, he only earned 500 euro there, which was, the least amount of money in that group. And by that, of course, it meant that he, let a lot of money there and did not add that much to the pot. According to Mole Talk, he also was responsible for less money in the pot in episode number 5, because there they had to take that Angelina Jolie photo, and he actually was the one to take that photo. And according to the Mole Talk, this was the incorrect photo out of the 2 photos that were taken, and here it was Stein who took the photo, and the size of the photo wasn't correct, and there are some things he could have manipulated there. Later in that episode, with the Buddha faces, his reaction to choosing the best people in the group was a bit, let's say, weird, because he actually changes his decision. He has a look at how many people are voting on Maaike, which he also wanted to vote for, and then he changes and votes for Rose, who doesn't get picked in the end, so it could make him appear less suspicious, but this change was caught by the cameras and it does actually make him more suspicious. In episode number 6, in the task with the photographers, he tries to confuse Maaike by saying something about blue sunglasses, but if I remember it correctly, it actually was a blue bag. And then in episode number 8, he at first is the one who needs to give all the instructions from the chef to the cooking group, and there he could have mauled pretty easily. It also seems like he didn't get all the information through to the cooking group. Then later he got caught 5 times in the scary hotel, meaning a lot of money lost. And he also was in room 406, but in 407 the money was suddenly gone, which of course makes him the most suspicious one to have picked that money and put it anywhere else. And last but not least, he didn't manage to get those last kilograms of salt on the scale in time, which then meant no money added to the pot in task number 3 of last week's episode. Last but not least, let's also have a quick look at Maaike. In task number 1, we have to have it one more time about the mole's birthday party, because Maaike was in a group with Nora and they had to blow out those candles. That went wrong the first time, and even more suspicious was a hint on the official WIDM website, where they always show us a photo of the task with the name of the task. You can click on that and then you can directly watch it. and there they chose a photo of Maaike with balloons in her hand, and the task was called a party for the mole. So why would you pick a picture of a random candidate to place there when it is a party for the mole? It does not really make that much sense. In episode number 2 and also in other episodes, we got to see Rick greet the group with Hallo Allemaal, which is a pretty well-known song in the Netherlands from a series called The Leuzenmoeder, and Maaike, who is an actress, well, was part of that series. So people in the Netherlands actually recognize that short sentence with being part of the TV series and then, well, connecting it to her. Also in that episode we had the task in which the candidates had to make photos with words on them, and they had to form the letters with their own bodies. And there Maaike managed to do 3 very interesting letters: an M, an O and an L, which of course means mole. In episode number 3 the candidates had to sing karaoke, and yeah, Maaike did really good when she had to sing herself, but she also managed that they got 3 incorrect answers when guessing the right word for the other candidates. 1 week later, in episode number 4, Maaike was one of the candidates who had to answer questions while being connected to the lie detector, and Ray asked her if she knew beforehand that he would have to go to the airport, and there she really gives an interesting answer by saying, if I knew that you would have to go to the airport, no. Which seems like I knew that somebody had to go to the airport, but that it would be you, I could not know that. At least it seemed like that. Then in episode number 5 she does some wrong dance moves, and in episode number 6 she at first tries to copy Stein's, well, wrong blue sunglasses, blue bag thing while they were standing in front of the photographers with the others, but the others do not get along with that. Is the question if she wanted to mole here or if she wanted to test Stein in front of the others. And then later they had to do that little quiz about old Wie is de Mol episodes and seasons. And there she sits in the backstage, and there are 2 interesting things. First of all, she had a green lamp, the other 2 had other colors, and as you know, green always is the color of the mole. And of course, if they did not know the answers themselves, they could ask the Molote, and she gave all of the questions to the Molote, which meant no money added to the pot here. And then last week, when she had to cook together with Rose, she splashes the coconut milk, and she also did not beat the egg before adding it to the other ingredients, and by doing that very likely changing the dish. She also got caught 5 times in the scary hotel and was the last one to pick out the envelope, and by doing that getting 2 yogurts but no money to the pot in the salt task. Last but not least, do not forget about the holiday hint leading to Maaike, which we talked about last week. And she also, and yeah, I mean that is super obvious and we talk about it in every season, but she is an actress, and we should not forget that this mole was chosen in the first episode. So it really needs to be a person who can adapt very quickly, who can change roles very quickly, and also Rick said that very, well, obvious in his speech at the end of this episode, at the end of the final, that the mole really needed to change quickly from his role as candidate to his role as mole. And yeah, of course, it seems likely that an actress has a little, well, advantage doing those things compared to people who work in other jobs. Now, this was a quick recap to suspicious things, to more actions and hints. Keep in mind that I did not mention any anti-mole actions here, and I'm sure that there are a lot more suspicious things and hints that happened throughout the episode. I am super duper curious on who your mole is, so please let me know in the comments below who is your mole. I know that this is always the most trickiest thing, actually deciding on one mole. In the official WIDM app, we always get to see how the app users voted, and here Stein is the most suspicious one with at the moment 44%, followed by Maaike and Roos both with 28%. If I remember it correctly, this changed a bit because Maaike actually was on the 3rd place for a pretty long time, and this goes along with what I've seen on the internet because a lot of people have chosen Stein as their mole. And I do agree that he did a lot of suspicious things, but my mole is Maaike. I choose Maaike, I stay with her as my mole. I am super excited to see if Maaike is the mole or not. I agree that if I had to do like an order of suspicious, then I would put Stein as the next one. So yeah, there's also definitely more potential. I do not really see Roos as a mole, although she moled a lot, but still I have more of candidate vibes with her. But yeah, I do pick Maaike as my mole. I'm super curious what it in the end, well, who it in the end will be. And if Maaike really is the mole, then we really would have the fact that none of the finalists filled out the tests on her. And then of course it gets super interesting on who wins, which of course has to do with how many questions you could fill out on the other people who could also be correct when filling the test out on Maaike and her. It's super exciting, and at least I can't remember that anything like that has ever happened before, which would mean that it is not only the lowest pot ever, but also the first season in which the mole did not get caught. But I also don't know the very first seasons, so maybe you know more about that or know more about mole seasons from other countries. Maybe it has happened there before, so if you know anything about it, let me know in the comments below. And yeah, next week, this time we will know more. We will know who the mole is, who the winner is, and the, well, very super duper candidate who unfortunately lost the game. So I hope to see you all back next week when we hopefully have some cool mole actions and hidden hints to talk about. Until then, bye!